Hey everyone. Good started in a few minutes here. Where's everyone watching from tonight? Drop it in the chat. Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Would love to know where people are watching from. So if you want to share that, feel free to drop it in the chat. And I guess welcome to our first of this new A Couple Travelers series called Travel Talk. Just going to be me tonight. Jenna is off working for all of her travel clients. She has a decent amount to do, so I will probably be soloing a few of these while I have some time, and we'll make sure to get Jenna in a few of these down the road too. But really, just wanted to create an opportunity for us just to talk travel. Obviously, as a couple travelers, we cover theme parks, cruises, and resorts, and we do a lot of that like in our videos and across social media. But there's rarely a time where we kind of take the opportunity to answer questions live and to get to know all of our great subscribers and everything. So wanted to try to start to do that more often, and hence travel talk. So here we are, and we'll kind of keep this pretty discussion based. And if you have any questions for me or a couple travelers or anything about theme parks, cruises, and resorts, that's what we're here to chat about. So pretty much anything under the guide of travel is up and ready for discussion. So um, one of the cool things that I saw actually today, kind of bridging the world of, if we think of theme parks, cruises, and resorts, it covers the first two. Is that oh, where is it? Here we go. They actually floated out the Disney Treasure today, the brand new cruise ship coming to Disney Cruise Line in December. And for the first time, they actually it left the dry dock in Germany where it's being constructed, and it is on its way for sea trials. So let me kind of zoom in here. So there she is. That's the building over there where she was being built, and this is over in Germany at the Meyer Werft shipyard, and you could see like the whole shell of it is there. It's fully operational and seaworthy, and they basically float it. Fun fact: backwards out of the river all the way like miles, dozens of miles, to a larger body of water where it could turn around, and then it goes out to sea for her sea trials, which is pretty cool. So we are debating on Disney Treasure Cruise at some point. Funnily enough, Jenna or I haven't been on any Disney cruise, um, so that is something that we'll hopefully have in the pretty near future here. But has anybody here been on a Disney cruise? You have five ships in the fleet now. You have the Magic, the Wonder, the Disney, the Dream, the Fantasy, and the Wish. And the Treasure will be the sister ship and the Witch of the Wish again coming out in December of this year. So we're noodling on that as a possibility, something at some point down the road. We love to cruise, obviously, but and we love Disney, but haven't been able to find the right time to do a Disney cruise yet. And if everyone could hear me okay, just let me know in the chat. I'm assuming all of that is good, but just wanted to make sure here. But yeah, super exciting about the Disney Treasure. The other cool thing about that ship is that it's some of the areas that it's going to have on board. It's going to have a. Let me see if I could move the photo up here a little bit. There we go. It's going to have a Jungle Cruise themed bar and a Haunted Mansion um, themed bar lounge area on board. So super excited for that. Um, it's just taking what's great in the parks and moving it to one of the Disney cruise ships. So can't wait for that. And as more people join, like I said at the top, we are, as part of this new series covering theme parks, cruises, and resorts. So pretty much the, niche of a couple travelers. So as you guys, have questions about anything and everything related to those, feel free to drop them in the chat. And, we're here to have some good conversation. Hopefully, share some stories, learn a few things, and hopefully we'll do more of these down the road. We're thinking about doing some streams a little bit more specialized too. So if we want to do a stream just on sandals or just on Royal Caribbean or Secrets or Disney or we have our cruise next year to Norway booked on Celebrity. So that's going to be Jenna and my first Celebrity cruise. So we're super excited for that. So yeah, we'll obviously have more to share when we go on that cruise next year. But Virgin Voyages too. We've done Virgin Voyages. Let us know in the chat if you've seen those videos. That was a couple of years ago at this point, which is crazy. But had a really great time on that. That was a COVID trip that we went on, but had a great time on the Scarlet Lady. Let me see here. So we did have a couple people ask questions via social. We announced this live the other day. So one of the questions we got was, can you enjoy a cruise if you only eat at included restaurants and not having things from places that have an upcharge? So that's a really good question. And we actually just posted a video on TikTok, Instagram, and as a YouTube short the other day that kind of talked about kind of the cruise line business model and how there's often a misconception that when you get on board a cruise ship, you're getting pretty much all that you could drink and eat as part of your cruise fare. And if you're an avid cruiser, you know that the cruise line business model just is kind of the opposite of that. They frankly nickel and dime you, and like there's a lot of upcharges, right? So if you want to pay your cruise fare to get on the ship, you basically have access to like the buffet, the main dining room, like coffee and juice and water and things like that in the buffet, and then some other, random complimentary restaurants included on the ship. If you want any sort of like soft drinks or specialty coffees or alcohol, or to eat at the steakhouse or the Italian restaurant, those are likely going to come as an upcharge in the form of like a deluxe beverage package or a specialty dining package or something like that. So it's just the way the cruise industry is. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just very different than when you think of like an all-inclusive resort, obviously, where you're paying one price and anything and everything under the sun is included within that price. So to answer Jen's question, can you enjoy a cruise if you only eat at included restaurants? I think the answer to that is yes. And what Jenna and I like to tell people when they kind of ask questions about can you enjoy something or like what's the value in something is that it's largely up to the guest or the consumer, right? Our value or our, perceived level of enjoyment is very different than what somebody else's might be. So I think just knowing Jenna and myself, yes, more often than not, we will splurge for the specialty dining on a cruise. But that doesn't mean that the complimentary dining is bad. And the way I look at it too, like if you're going on a cruise, you're on vacation, right? So I think if you look at it through that lens, it's still pretty easy to enjoy yourself when you're on this massive cruise ship sailing through the ocean in the Caribbean or Alaska or the Mediterranean, and you're on vacation. So if you look at it through that lens, hopefully you are able to enjoy it, agnostic of whether or not you have really fancy dining or an open bar essentially through a deluxe beverage package of sorts. So that's really, kind of how we look at it. I will say, we have certainly benefited from doing the specialty dining on some cruises, for example. Like when we went on our Alaska cruise on Ovation of the Seas, it actually worked out that we did specialty dining for 3 of the nights because we found that the complimentary dining through like the Windjammer and the main, actually the main dining room wasn't too bad. But the Windjammer was a little lackluster as compared to some of the other royal ships we've been on, Harmony of the Seas and Icon of the Seas. I'm trying to think what else. So we did Chops, we did Jamie's, which is still one of the Italian concepts aboard the royal ships. And then we did Azumi as well. So the 3 nights specialty dining, and that was all good. So we're glad that we did it on that trip specifically, because like the Windjammer, for example, was kind of just, it was the Windjammer. It was fine. And the main dining room was actually pretty good because that was right after they rolled out the new menus aboard the Royal Caribbean ship. So we actually got to try that, which was pretty cool. But again, yeah, I really think you absolutely can enjoy a cruise if you're not kind of splurging for some of those extras. They're great at the same time. Like who doesn't want to, go have a nice steak dinner at Chops or, at Cagney's aboard Norwegian Cruise Line, for example. So it's really up to you and what your, you know, perception of value or quote unquote worth it is. Does anybody have any cruises coming up? I know we're kind of at like a weird time of the year for travel. Like, you know, we're just over summer. Everybody's, you know, getting back to school and everything. Um, yeah, it really kind of depends on what people have going on. But we'd love to hear about anybody's upcoming travels in the chat. Jenna and I are actively working on what our next trip will be for some point in the relatively near future here. So, well, excuse me, we'll obviously have more to share on that once we kind of confirm details and everything. But yeah, we'll let you know when that is confirmed, and super excited for what that might be. But upcoming travels for next year. People ask us this all the time, but we've obviously talked a couple times across social media and on the channel here about our Norway cruise, which we are super excited for. I just mentioned it earlier in the video, but that'll be our first time on a celebrity cruise ship. And we're specifically going on the Celebrity Apex. Funny enough, we actually came across that ship when we were on our Icon of the Seas cruise um, back in January. It was docked next to us in St. Thomas. And I'll throw in a clip of that because the next video we have coming out on the channel will be a review of the St. Thomas excursion that we did while at that port of call. Um, but yeah, it looks to be a really cool ship. We've kind of had our eye on the Celebrity Edge class ships pretty much ever since the Celebrity Edge came out a number of years ago, and you know would love to and really have been wanting to get on it just because you know it's a little bit more premium of an experience than Royal. Not that Royal is bad or not premium; it's just a little bit more upscale. And that's just how a lot of these like cruise lines are structured because Celebrity is actually a sister brand, if you don't know this, to Royal Caribbean. They're under the Royal Caribbean group. So if you kind of look at the three brands under that umbrella, you have the most family friendly brand, which is Royal Caribbean International. And that's all of your big mega ships, the Oasis class, Icon of the Seas, your Freedom class, Voyager class, etc. The Quantum class, which is what we went on to Alaska. Then you have Celebrity, which is a little bit more of an upscale premium brand. It still has opportunities to bring your kids aboard the ship. They have, you know, places where you could leave your kids, like daycare and teen clubs and things like that. But that's kind of like your middle tier in terms of not quality, but just like premium nature. And then at the top, you have Silver Sea. So that is your pretty much luxury arm of Royal Caribbean. So smaller ships, you know, they offer all inclusive packages. So it's just a different type of cruise. Um, but for Royal Caribbean Group, they kind of get the best of all three worlds because you cater to you know pretty much straight up families through Royal Caribbean International, a little bit more of a hybrid crowd through Royal Caribbean and Celebrity, and then kind of your really more call it elite cruisers through Silver Sea, which is the again the luxury cruise line. But we're really excited for Celebrity. We just watched a ship tour of the Celebrity Apex, and we're actually booked concierge class too. So we'll be sure to put out some videos, kind of overviewing what's included in that. You know what the differences in some of the room types are, and just kind of how we like the experience overall. But that's going to be a 7 night cruise to Norway, out of Southampton, England. So if you've ever thought about going to Norway or are interested in what that overall planning process looks like, we'll have a number of videos coming out to the channel over the next 6 to 8 months before we leave on the cruise, that will kind of detail what our planning process is. Because, fun fact, I've actually never been to Europe either. So this will be my first time going across the pond. And we're going to do a few days in London before. So we'll have a lot of videos about just kind of how we plan for doing days walking around and experiencing London. So Jenna, junior year of college, studied abroad in London for a semester. So she's really excited to go back, and I'm can't be more excited to join her. So that'll be a lot of fun coming up in next year. So that's the big thing we have for 2025. And then we'll of course have some other stuff too, but I'm still kind of in the process and confirming what those things actually might be. But what is your next vacation? Feel free to drop that in the chat. And yeah, would love to see where people are jetting off to at some point in the future here. And I'll drop that question in the chat too, so if anybody's kind of joining late, they could see it. What? Checking Instagram as well, because I know some people were sharing some questions on that. Let's see. What did we like about Icon of the Seas? Good question. So we have a video, well, a couple of videos out from Icon of the Seas. So a lot of that is covered in a review video that we have, and there's also an Icon tips video that pretty much goes, A to Z on things you need to know about the world's largest cruise ship. But in essence, there's a number of things that we liked. The first of which would be just the overall opportunities available aboard the ship. Obviously, as the largest cruise ship in the world, there's a lot of things to do naturally on board, and Royal Caribbean certainly hit that out of the ballpark when they were talking it up in all the kind of pre-promotional ads and YouTube videos and things like that. So I think we were, not like surprised or underwhelmed. Like we were just, the expectation was met in terms of how much there is to do on board the ship. We also said, funny enough, that since there's so much to do, it's also kind of a little bit of a con, right? Because right, for the foreseeable future, they're only sailing Eastern and Western Caribbean 7-day cruises out of Miami. And yes, we were on the inaugural sailing, so our time was very much split between, covering all the different, restaurants and bars and activities and things like that, we were kind of prioritizing like filming and taking photos and videos. So we really didn't have a ton of time to like just truly experience everything. I think we certainly crammed in a lot in the matter the matter of a week. But we kind of left the cruise being like, oh man, like wish we could go back because there's still some things we wanted to do again, or some things we didn't get to do at all. So as much as like the ship's size and just plethora of offerings is a pro, it's also a little bit of a con. So one kind of word of advice that we gave in the tips in the review video, I believe, is that if you are going on Icon of the Seas, is consider skipping a port or two that it stops at. I will say that a lot of the ports that Icon is going to are more or less cliche in the world of cruising. So you're going to like St. Thomas and St. Kitts in the Eastern Caribbean, and then it's also stopping at Coco Key, Royal Caribbean's private island in the Bahamas. So if you've been to Coco Key a number of times, for example, and you really want to experience Icon of the Seas, that may be a port you consider skipping if you don't want to do Thrill Island or Chill Island because you've done it 3 times on other Royal cruises, but you want to do Thrill Island and Chill Island aboard the ship. So just one thing to keep in mind. We love the cruise overall, and would certainly recommend it. Would recommend Star of the Seas when she comes out next year. And then I'm trying to think what else did we like. All the dining was really great, but we just talked a lot about cruise dining. And then, for it being the largest cruise ship in the world, it was actually surprisingly easy to navigate. I think that was one of our biggest like hesitations going into it, was that, we knew it was going to be fairly larger than the Oasis class ships, and we had been on Harmony of the Seas before, but we were like, okay, how is this going to be like from a guest experience perspective? And I will say they really were mindful and were very keen in their planning of the layout and overall architecture of the ship, because it really wasn't hard to navigate. So, I'm not going to give away like all the little tips and tricks because you could watch those in those videos. But just as an example, like one of the things we always talked about in those videos was having the staircase between the Royal Promenade and Central Park. So arguably 2 of the most popular neighborhoods on the ship. It was great to not have to walk to either end of the ship to go to either a staircase or an elevator. They actually had a dedicated staircase that went from deck 6 to I think it was deck 8, which was Central Park, or deck 7 to deck 8. But regardless, from the Royal Promenade neighborhood up to the Central Park neighborhood, it just made it easy. So if you're having like a pre-dinner drink, at the 1400 lobby bar, and then you want to go up and have dinner at Chops, it's a 3-minute walk, which makes it super easy. Oh, Audrey in the chat. Hello. If you could be a cast member, crew member, or employee at any of your favorite vacation spots, Sandals, Royal, Universal, Disney, Secrets, which would you choose to work at? Good question. I mean, I could probably go down the list, but starting off with Sandals, which would I choose to work at for Sandals? Probably one of the Jamaica resorts, because, that would be easy transfer opportunities to all of the other properties on the island. I really like the close proximity of Royal Caribbean and Montego Bay, for example. Jenna went to South Coast last year, and she said that was a really stellar property. So probably one of the Jamaica ones. I mean, we also did around this time last year, we did Dunn's River, which is one of the newer Sandals. And yeah, that one was great. So I probably Dunn's River, and mostly because Royal Dunn's River is going to be opening next door to it in the hopefully near future. So we'd love to do that for Sandals. For Royal, I mean, you got to really work your way up the ranks, but I would love to be a cruise director. I think that would be super fun, just engaging with guests and talking to people about, this, that, and the other thing, and hosting shows and whatnot. You're kind of like the social go getter of the ship. So would love to do that on a Royal Caribbean ship. Obviously, I'm a fan of the larger ships, so anything in that realm would be cool. Universal. That's a good one. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, but just with how great those worlds are at Islands of Adventure in Universal Studios, would love to be a team member in one of those. Maybe like doing the wand show, or wouldn't say no to operating one of the rides either. Um, Disney's easy. I would either love to be a cast member as a Jungle Cruise skipper at either Magic Kingdom or Disneyland, doesn't matter. Or I would love to do VIP tours. Um, you probably know this because I mentioned it at some point. But I did tours in school, in college, and so always have kind of had that as a part of me, and would love to pick it up again at some point. I mean, I don't think that's really in the cards for me now, but if given the opportunity at some point down the road or in a second life or something, certainly wouldn't say no to being a Disney VIP tour guide, or again a Jungle Cruise skipper. Um, and Secrets is kind of a tough one because we've only been to the one Secrets resort um, at this point, but yeah, don't really know what I would like to do. Um, would like to do for that, but something probably similar to Sandals, like bartending or being a GM. Just kind of like overseeing the resort overall would be super cool. But yeah, I don't know. Speaking of secrets, Jenna and I are very keen on adding more secrets videos to the channel at some point in the future. But if you guys have watched any of those videos from our Secrets Akamal vacation a little bit earlier this year, let us know how you're liking those, because we're kind of through that series of videos right now. We'll still have some stuff coming up on social. We'll have a video coming out, like a regular form video and some shorts that kind of like go through what's included in a Secrets vacation versus what's included in Sandals, and kind of like comparing and contrasting a little bit, not like on a subjective level, but more factually, like this is what's included with Secrets and this is what's included with Sandals. So we'll have those videos coming out in the future, but it's so funny how like we've been all in on we've really done a lot of Sandals work over the last few years, and Secrets was always kind of there in the background, and it really just kind of came out to be a great experience for us. So we're really excited to add a lot of those resorts to our portfolio, hopefully in the relatively near future here. Secrets, which is owned by Hyatt now. Hyatt bought the brand last year. They're really going all in on Secrets expansion. So they've announced something to the tune of like 30 new properties opening over the next however many years. Let me see if I could find actually um, the press release they had about it. Um, yeah, let's see. So this was back in May. Um, let's see here. So yep. So Hyatt doubles down on Latin America growth with 30 plus planned openings through 2027. So it's really happening at a pretty quick pace. So this is the press release they came out with back in May. And so yeah, so they covered Dreams and Secrets. So if we're looking at Sandals, you have Sandals, which is the adult only arm of the corporation. Then you have Beaches, which is the family friendly arm. For Hyatt and Secrets, you have Dreams and Secrets. So Dreams is to Secrets as Beaches is to Sandals. So it's the family-friendly sister resorts. And what's cool about Secrets is sometimes, in some instances, they actually have a Dreams and a Secrets resort built right next to each other. So if you're going on a family vacation, or if you're just parents with kids and want to like have an opportunity to go off and like do something that's just a little bit more adults focused, you obviously could do that at a family friendly resort, but you just have more of an opportunity if there's a resort literally right next door that you could walk to and take advantage of some of those things. Um, but going down the list, the one thing that was really intriguing, and they kind of go through like some of these um, expansions here. So there's already a Dreams in Curacao, so that's going to see an adults only expansion. They're going to have a Dreams family friendly expansion to this resort in Mexico. Sapphire, I believe, is in Mexico or the DR. I can't remember. That's going to have another expansion to it. This one looks super cool. The Dreams and the Secrets Playa Esmeralda. So this is one of those instances in which they're going to have those properties right next door to each other. So that's going to kind of be at the northern end of pretty much, I'll call it like the Cancun metro area. So as you kind of travel north through all the different various hotel zones and everything, they're building the Secrets and the Dreams in Playa Esmeralda. Oh, and that's in Punta Cana. So that's not even in Cancun. So that's going to be in the DR, which is super cool. Baby Beach Aruba, really intrigued about this one because out of Secrets and Sandals, neither of them touch Aruba. And that is such a popular island for North America tourism, and probably South American tourism for that matter, because it's literally almost like touches South America. Um, but yeah, so many airlines fly there from so many cities in the United States. So it's kind of a no brainer for Secrets to be kind of dipping their toe into that water. And I believe that is going to be a new build, which is super exciting. So that'll be coming to Aruba next year. Um, Obviously, when you think of St. Lucia, Sandals has three of their properties there. That is the most Sandals properties in a country right after Jamaica. So, Secret's encroaching a little bit on Sandals territory there. But they're actually taking over a current property and revamping it into a Secret. So that's going to be super cool. And that's expected to open, I believe. This says 2025, but since this came out, I believe, have announced February. Um, so that could be really cool. And then Breathless, Puerto Vallarta. In Mexico, Breathless is more of a, how do you describe it? It's still an adult's arm of the Hyatt Inclusive Collection, but it's, I guess, less romantic and less like, you know, it's less romantic than Secrets. Secrets is largely for, you know, honeymooners and anniversary trips, or kind of low key trips with friends, like things like that. Breathless is a little bit more of a vibe, a little bit more of a party atmosphere. For frankly, probably a little bit of a younger crowd too. So nothing bad about that, but that's a net new Breathless resort coming to Puerto Vallarta next year. And then, this whole press release goes through their entire, kind of list of, Grand Hyatt expansions and things like that. But overall, pretty cool stuff coming to Hyatt and the world of all inclusives in the fairly near future here. Um, but yeah, we are very keen on um, exploring more Secrets properties here. Has anybody here been to a Secrets before? Like I mentioned, we've only done Secrets Akumal. Um, we did that earlier this year in April and had a fantastic time, and can't wait to go back to our next Secrets. I bring up our tour here. I'm sure there's a couple cool um, things I could highlight. Let's see. So I think the most impressive thing, and yes, we're going on a little bit of a secrets tangent, but that's okay. Like I said, we're covering theme parks, cruises, and resorts. I think one of the coolest things about this property. Let me try to situate this so we could actually see um, the video pretty well here. There we go. Um, but one of the coolest things about Secrets Akumal specifically, had to be um, its proximity to the sea turtles. So, as you're watching in this video here, basically this area down the beach is a protected reef by the Mexican government. And what that does is it gives the Secrets Akumal guests a really, what's the word? Just a really big advantage over other resorts on the island because all you have to do is walk down the beach to um, basically get to this protected reef area. The only caveat is that to get into the protected reef area specifically is you need to sign up through the resort to do that. So because this is kind of like a heavily regulated area by the Mexican government, the resort only allows, I believe, is it 6 or 12? It's one of those. But they have a very limited number of um, snorkeling slots open every day. But if we got very lucky, we were able to sign up for our party of 6. So yeah, I think it's 12. I think it's 6 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon. But they basically take you out to this reef, and we had never come so close to sea turtles before. And this is after having, you can see it right here. This is after having done it in Barbados. We did swimming with sea turtles. I believe technically our Grenada excursion was a sea turtle snorkeling excursion, but we've seen them before. But there was just something different about this one, which made it really kind of authentic and fun. I think a big part of it was the guides that we had. They were both part of the Secrets Entertainment team, which was absolutely stellar. Um, at the resort, and they really just kind of explained to us not just like, hey, you're going to see turtles, but like, you know, what they do from, habitually, and like how they interact with humans. So they gave us obviously frankly some good pointers on what to do and what not to do when interacting with the sea turtles. So it actually gave us a better chance of having the sea turtles come close to us, because they said one of the things not to do was like if you see one, to freak out, because that's gonna basically cause it to swim away from you because it's gonna get scared. But that was such an awesome thing about Secrets Akumal, and then just really loved the pool area too. Um, this was kind of the one of the main pools directly adjacent to the beach. This is where you had your swim up bar as well. Um, but a lot of entertainment that happened at the resort. They just had bingo by the pool one day. And then behind these chairs, I'll just fast forward in the video here a little bit. They had another pool. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. So they kind of had like a seating area, and then they had another pool right behind it. So this was like the heart of the resort, and where we spent the majority of our time. We actually parked ourselves in those chairs and left there for I think 2 out of the 5 days that we were there, and that was kind of that was our go-to spot. But we absolutely loved um, Secrets Akumal. We filmed this pretty early in the morning, so you could see how nice and peaceful it is early in the morning with nobody in the pool or walking around the resort or anything. But yeah, we had an awesome, awesome time. Can't wait to go back to Secrets for sure. I'm gonna check Instagram here and see what other questions are coming in. Let's see. Best time to take a Mediterranean cruise? Good question. So, Mediterranean cruising is very similar to Alaska in that it's seasonal. So, it's not like if you look at the cruise industry, Caribbean cruising pretty much happens at any time because you're in the warm weather. So, there's obvious benefits of going, from where we are in the northern United States um, to go somewhere warmer in the winter because you want to get away to somewhere warmer on your vacation. But then there's also no harm in going on a Caribbean cruise in the summer because you're leaving the nice weather to go to arguably nicer weather. The contrast when you talk about Alaska or the Mediterranean, in that it's not always nice year round. So the environment and the seasonality um, of those areas of the world pretty much dictate when cruises can and cannot happen. So uh, the best time of the year to go on a Mediterranean cruise is pretty much when you could go. So that window, like I said, is pretty much similar to Alaska. So and every cruise line is different, but for argument's sake, let's say the Mediterranean cruise season for the majority of cruises available is going to be May through October. So we're pretty much at the tail end of it now. Not to say that there aren't any cruises that will go in April or go into November, but they pretty much bring their ships there when the weather allows it, right? Because yes, even though you might be sailing through Greece or Spain and it's you know still kind of mild and kind of nice, it might not be the perfect cruising weather. Um, that's kind of how they plan it, is they um, bring their ships there when the weather is frankly best for it. So within that window, I think, to answer your question more specifically, if you were to look at like what's the best time to go, um, if you look at it weather wise, you're probably going to be in the middle of that window. So I would say June, July, and August. However, the downside and kind of the thing to keep in mind with that is that's probably when everybody wants to go, right? So if that is arguably the most popular time of the Mediterranean cruise window, that's when you're going to see higher prices. That's when you're going to see more crowded cruise ports, less stateroom options available on board ships, more crowded ships in general. So there's a lot of like different levers that you have to play with when you're thinking about a seasonal cruise like Alaska or the Mediterranean, because since the season is not 12 months out of the year, um, the cruise lines are going to charge a premium for you to go on it during a fairly limited window. Um, and to do things like excursions. So Mediterranean excursions and Alaska excursions are notorious for being more expensive, like $300-400 a person in some instances, even more, depending on what you're looking to do. Um, so again, if you are looking to go on a Mediterranean cruise during like call it the core time of year, there are some different things you'll need to keep in mind with that when it comes to how you're budgeting a cruise and how you're planning it overall. So hopefully that answers your question. Again, like I said at the top of the video, when it comes to thinking about, planning a vacation, be it a theme park, a cruise, or a resort, what the value is in something is totally up to you and your family and your, idea of what you think you could get out of a vacation. Um, so yeah, Mediterranean cruise is certainly on on the list for Jenna and I at some point, but we'll see. Obviously, with having a travel focused YouTube channel, there's a lot of different opportunities and stuff that we want to do, but you need to try to pick and choose and prioritize and all that fun stuff. But we're coming on just up at just about an hour here, so I will take um, maybe a couple. See one more question on um, Instagram, and then we could kind of wrap it up for this first episode of Travel Talk. But again, like I said, we'll have more in the future here. But um, let's see. Yeah, some people asking about Alaska. Just favorite things about Alaska too. I mean, where do you start? I mean, Alaska was such a great time, and I won't go into too much detail because we have so many videos out in the channel already about that. But I think in short, we got really. I think we were just kind of like blown away with the scenery, and I know that sounds very cliche, but all the videos and kind of photos and stuff that we had seen beforehand, it's like, okay, yeah, this is awesome. Like Alaska's it's going to be really cool. But the funny thing that Jenna and I kept saying to ourselves while we were there is like, this has to be fake, right? Like none of this scenery that we're seeing could be real. Um, so I think just having a balcony cabin and just being able to sit out on the balcony while you're cruising through the Inside Passage, it was just it was just like anything that we had ever done. We had only done Caribbean cruises before, right? So, we wanted to do something that was a little bit different, and Alaska certainly checked that box. Um, so, loved the views and just loved all the different photo opportunities and video opportunities that came along with it. I also just love the idea that like you're in a place like Alaska, but you're still technically in the United States, right? So that was the weird thing too, is like when we got off the ship in the ports, the only exception was obviously Victoria in British Columbia, Canada. But for the other three ports, you're in the U.S., so your cell phone works off the ship. There's no like international credit card transaction fees or anything like that. So it's like you're in the U.S., but like it does not by any means feel like you're in the United States. So that was really really interesting. And one of the biggest things we love about traveling is just experiencing the different cultures and everything. And with Alaska being so diverse and just kind of vibrant in its culture, we really tried to take advantage of that. And so, I think, cause we're absolutely going to go back at some point. We said that like while we were on the cruises, like we're going to do this again, like as soon as we can. Maybe not as soon as we can, but like we will try to prioritize it. But basically, with the excursions that we did, we made the mistake at the time of basically like packing our day with these excursions. And unfortunately, what that kind of took away from was the time that we had to really explore the ports that we were in, because we wanted to jam as much as we could into the excursion. So like going to whale watching at Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau, and then in Skagway, it's you go to see like an old brothel, and you go to like a salmon bake, and then you go up, take a bus up to Canada to take the train back down. Like all of those things, like in their own right, are great. It just comes with the downside of it takes away from your time in port a little bit. So we have a lot of videos out in the channel, you know, like I said, that kind of like go into detail about overall what you need to keep in mind when planning for an Alaska cruise. And every port is different, but you know, I will say we really saw a lot of that kind of like time crunch in Skagway and in Juneau. But in Ketchikan and in Victoria, um, you know, we were pretty much okay. We just didn't have a lot of time in Victoria. We are actually a little bit late getting back to the ship, but since we were on an excursion booked through Royal, they waited for us, no problem. But our excursion was a little late leaving the restaurant that we were at after we did our brewery tour. But that was a lot of fun. Victoria was a fantastic city. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, since we were spent all of our time on the excursion and kind of like a guided tour, we didn't get to really experience like a lot of the culture ourselves, which was kind of a bummer. But you know, what this does is kind of gives us inspiration for future travels, right? So like, for example, when we go on our next Alaska cruise, because we will be going on another one at some point in the future, it's like making sure that you know, Victoria is, you know, one of the ports of call. Trying to think what else related to Alaska. Um, so we talked about how it was kind of fake. Well, the scenery looked fake, but it was all very real. Um, what else? What else? What else? Oh, really liked the ship that we had for Alaska. Um, so we went on Ovation of the Seas, which is a Royal Caribbean ship, and that class of ship was really um, almost purpose built for destinations like Alaska. It's one of their larger ships, not the largest ship, but it's a good size. And so there's a lot to do on board. There's, you know, good amount of restaurants and activities. And you know, the first activity that really makes it a good ship for Alaska is the North Star. Um, so I can actually bring up our video that goes through that. But the North Star is essentially this observation pod that is on the top of the ship. And it's a pod on a robotic arm, and it extends you up hundreds of feet above sea level, above the ocean. And then, depending on which type of um, kind of time on the arm you book, you could do one that's complimentary that just basically takes you up and down, but then there's one that you could pay a little bit extra for, and it's a little bit longer because it goes up and then it goes off the side of the ship, and that's the one that we did, and that made it 100% worth it. And we actually did this activity sailing out of Seattle. So I will bring up the video here. There we go. So this is us sailing out of Seattle. So we're walking into this observation pod that's on the end of this big robotic arm, and then it takes you, like I said, hundreds of feet above the ocean, or in this case, the river or channel or whatever we were in. And it just shows you the views. So this is really great for, you know, when you're in Alaska and there's just endless things to look at. So you can do it on a sea day. But I really wouldn't recommend doing that in Alaska when you can do it in a port day. But obviously, that comes with the consideration of potentially taking away your time to go into town and go on an excursion. So there are ways to do it. But if you can book a time to do it like early in the morning before you get to a port while you're sailing through the Inside Passage, like that would be amazing. Like a lot of times, these Alaska cruises before they go to Juneau, they will sail through um, one of the fjords or the arms they call it in Alaska, and go to a glacier. And so that's usually like a 5 or 6 hour cruise, like from when you get to from the main part of the Inside Passage to the glacier, hang out there, and then turn back around. So just knowing how that experience was for us on our Alaska cruise, I would say if you can book the North Star for that time, absolutely do it. It's going to be a hot commodity, so you'll need to really try to try your luck and get it and book it. It'll most likely be an extra fee. But would absolutely recommend that. And then the other thing too that we showed in this video was the indoor pool area on Ovation of the Seas. So the solarium is an adults only pool area. Yes, I'm trying to see what I'm showing here. So the solarium is a adults only pool area at the front of the ship. And it's completely enclosed, and it's climate controlled, so you can be sitting in a jacuzzi or in a pool watching the mountains and the Inside Passage go by. So that was amazing. Would love to do that again. And then there is actually another dedicated pool area that's indoors. It's actually under a retractable roof, so it could be indoors or outdoors. But if you're sailing through a place like Alaska, they could close the roof and keep that climate controlled as well. So you could still be in a pool like you're on a Caribbean cruise while you're sailing through the Inside Passage of Alaska. So lots of cruise talk on this first episode of Travel Talk. But, like I said, lots of things to cover in the world of theme parks, cruises, and resorts. So I think that's just going to about do it for this first episode. Thanks to everyone who tuned in here. But we'll kind of be doing these regularly. And, if you have any thoughts or any questions, certainly share them with us either here on YouTube or on social media. We'll certainly think about doing some specific live streams kind of in the future, be it about sandals or cruises or secrets or Disney or what have you. But that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks everybody for watching, and have a great week.